Well, y'all, it's been almost a year, but I am happy to say that it's 2025 and we back, baby. Let's get into it. This is Looking for My Fit.
Looking for my feet, looking for my feet, yeah. Looking for my feet, looking for my feet, yeah. Looking for my feet, looking for my feet, yeah. Looking for my feet, looking for my feet, yeah.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode, finally, of the Looking for My Fit podcast. My name is Jamaica, and I am just so unbelievably grateful to be back. And I'm so grateful that you decided to tune in. If you have been following along since the beginning, I want to say thank you so much for your continued support and for continuing to tune in and for sharing this podcast because I'm going to tell you, I haven't recorded anything in almost a year. It's been since February of 2024 since I put out an episode. And y'all, even in that time, I have probably had over 3,000 downloads last year. And yeah, didn't do a thing. So I just really and genuinely feel like that is a result of you all being willing to share the podcast with others. So thank you. And if you are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. What an amazing time for you to jump in and join the crew. I hope that something about this episode will resonate with you, that you'll go back, you'll catch up on old episodes so that you can really be in the know here and that you will subscribe, follow, just depending on whichever platform you're listening to and that you'll stick around. I'm happy that you are here. So let's get into it, y'all. Honestly, this episode has been the absolute hardest one for me to come back and record. Two reasons. One, I was struggling to stay awake. I'm 45 now. Yep, see, that happened over time last year. Didn't talk about my birthday. I'm 45. This year I'll be 46. And I was on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, you should. Looking for my fit. And I shared that I have something called sit and sleep. The minute I sit down, I fall asleep. I don't know. You know, when you're in college and when you're younger, you can stay up all day or at least stay up all night. You'll sleep till like mid-afternoon, but then you up and you moving. And now, by the time I come in from work and I sit down, I am sleepy. I cannot tell you the number of times I have set up everything, sat down to record, and just I can't do it. I'm too sleepy. So that was the first thing. And the second reason is because so much has happened over the last year that I just didn't even know where to start. I'm like, well, where do I begin as far as catching up and talking about all the things that have happened? And even right now, I'm not quite sure where to start. But here's what I know: there can be paralysis by analysis. You can overthink things, and just now that we're in the beginning of a new year, I don't want to be the person who overthinks everything. That's definitely the life that I have lived, where I completely and totally overanalyze everything to the point that I can talk myself out of doing something. So today I said, let's just turn this mic on and let's just see where things go. But that's what we do best here, right? Well, something happened to me 2 days ago. And once I pulled myself together, I said, I think this will be the perfect place for me to start. So 2022, 2023 were just personal. Now I'm just saying just me. It's not about, I praise God. I thank God that my family is healthy and that they are doing well and that they are thriving. You know, my husband, my children, my parents are doing well. My brother and his family, and my little cute little bitty little nephew, they're all doing amazing. So I praise God for that. But y'all know I've said before, two things can be true. So family is thriving. I'm in good health. I am grateful, right? Having said that, 2022, 2023, they rocked me to my core personally. I I just I've been through things in my life, but as far as in my adult life, ooh, wee, honey, child, I just, I don't even really know how to put into words what those 2 years were like. There was a lot of change. There was a lot of transition. There were hurt feelings and lots of tears in those 2 years. During the time when I was going through that, I was just praying, like, God, can we go on and wrap this up? Like, Lord, I just personally, not telling you what to do, but personally speaking, I feel like, you know, whatever lesson there was, I feel like I probably learned it. If we can just go on and skip to the good part. Okay. So there were lots of prayers and lots of tears. And Lord, what is going on? My life. Now, again, this is just me. My personal life just got flipped upside down. Nothing looked or felt familiar. And I felt lonelier. Is that a word? Yes. I felt more lonely. Let's go with that. During those 2 years than I have ever felt. Talk about feeling like I was in the wilderness, just trying to figure out when I would get to the edge of that thing. Lord, what is going on and why is this happening? I am so confused. Finally, in 2024, okay, this is when the podcast just abruptly cut off. I decided to lean in. Okay, Lord, first of all, should have done this in the first place. You know better than I do. Let me really look at what has occurred over 2022 and 2023. Let me look back over the previous years of my life before that, and let's pull some things together. What did I get from this? What have I learned? And what has changed about me? The thing about change is it typically happens over time. And sometimes change happens in such small increments that you don't even realize that change is happening. And when it's happening in such small increments, it's hard for you to even see. So I work at a gym and we have lots of members that I see at least 5 days a week. So they're coming in, they're being consistent, and I see them and they're making progress, but it is harder to see the progress when you're seeing somebody every day because you're getting adjusted to those small changes on a regular basis. And then one day you'll look back at a picture or old video and you will be like, oh my gosh, you have transformed so much. And I didn't even realize it because I see you all the time. And I feel like that was the situation with me. Small changes were happening along the way of those years, even though I just felt like I was just sitting still and moping. God was working within me. And I've really evolved into a new woman. Now, at my core, I'm still the same person. I still have the same good core values, but how I see myself, how I function, how I interact with others, how I process things, the perspective that I choose to have, and the way that I move, very, 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 very different. Now, again, 2022, 2023, I was grateful for nothing I was going through. Okay. You have this. No more wire hangers. I was over it. 2024, decided to lean in. Let's look back. Let's stop pouting. Let's stop feeling like a victim. And let's see what has happened and lessons that you've learned. And let's lean into this thing and let's move forward. I truly believe that now again, when I'm talking about God, I can't pretend to know all of his thoughts. Read the word, I know character, so I'm not going to say. And then God, I will just say, I believe that God gave me an opportunity to have a clean slate with experience, right? So I feel like I have an opportunity to take all the things that I have learned over these last couple of years and apply them moving forward into this new chapter of life. Now, let's back up to the story that happened the other day. Circling back. So the other day, I I don't know if I want to call it a mood. I was feeling a little bit down, and I didn't feel like my normal self within. Now I know you like, girl, you just said over 2022, 2023, you didn't even know what was going on. So what is normal? What I am saying is that when I talk about at my core, I'm a naturally upbeat, positive person. I like to laugh. I love to have a good time. I love to hype people up. And I love people just in general. I care about how people feel when they interact with me. I care about the impact that I have on people. And I absolutely love my job just because of how I get to interact with people. And I take it very seriously. And I'm very mindful about the impact that I have on others. I know that when people walk through the door, we don't know everything that's going on in everybody's life. I know that making time for your health and showing up is not always an easy thing to do. And when people come in that door, I want them to feel like they made the right decision. I like for people to feel like they're where they're supposed to be. And I like to make sure that people feel like they're seen. All stuff like that matters to me. Well, this particular day, which was, hold on, y'all, let me make sure this mic is good. Okay. So on this particular day, it was just a couple of days ago, I just wasn't feeling like myself. And it didn't come out of nowhere. I had a lot of things going on. And I was resorting back to some old ways. Part of my old way of operating was I don't need your help. I can figure this out by myself. I can do this by myself. Just leave me alone. And they weren't even huge things, but I had a lot of small things going on that I had allowed to overwhelm me because I just didn't have the willingness to ask for help. Now, as you grow and you change and you evolve, again, things happen in increments. So I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I do have moments where I'm still in that space of feeling like I can do it by myself. I don't need any help. Y'all ever seen that video with the little girl who's buckling her seatbelt and the dad is trying to help her? He said, "Don't you worry about me. I can do it by myself." That's me. I can do it by myself. And in reverting back to that, I was feeling overwhelmed without even realizing it until that morning. So I gotten up that morning, had a gazillion things on my mind, and was adding the fact that my cycle was on. I was irritated. I was ready to offer up a throat punch to anybody who wanted one. Ah, you want it, you can get it. Let me know. So it was a culmination of things. So I go into work and I'm trying my very best to mask what I'm feeling. Cause y'all, I'm very big on like being an adult and knowing how to check my feelings at the door and not bring personal things into work. On that day, I think it's just so much I had allowed so much to build up that I wasn't doing a good job masking it. Now, I didn't have an attitude. I wasn't speaking to people short. I think people could just feel that my energy wasn't as hype and way up as it normally is. Now, I've been working here for 2 years and I'm very my personality is consistent. We'll get back to the word consistent later. My personality is pretty consistent. Now, I'd say perfect, but just on a daily basis when you interact with me, I'm not one whose personality shifts and I'm not one who leans into like moodiness. That's just not me. But on this day, y'all, I was trying, but I was not doing a good job. So when I got there, before I even got in there good, somebody said, "You doing okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You sure?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah." And in that moment, I was fighting back tears. In one of the sessions, the workout sessions was ending, and I did not want people to come out and like see these tears in my face, right? So I decided to remove myself, go to the bathroom, and like just have a moment to myself. So I went in the bathroom, I cried, had a second. I'm like, what is going on? Like, Jamaica, this is not what we do. This is not how we function. Why are you feeling all of these emotions? Like, get yourself together. So when I felt like I had gotten myself together, came out, I go back to the front. Most of the people cleared out, but there were a couple people left. So uh one of my friends, Maggie, we've known each other for years. Hey Maggie, she says to me quietly, she's up beside me and she says, "Are you okay?" And y'all, I didn't receive that question well. I was like, instead of just saying like, "Yeah, I'm okay," I said, "Why is everybody asking me if I'm okay?" Yo, that's not even in my character to respond to somebody like that. And she was genuinely like, Are you okay?" She was coming from a good place. And I was like, "Why is everybody asking me if I'm okay?" And she could have been like, "Well, forget you then. And don't you never ever worry about me asking you how you doing again. You can just suffer on your own. Okay? That's what you go do. You throw yourself a pity party. Don't worry about me, sweetheart. I will not ask you again." She didn't do that. She said, "Well, it's just normally you have like a different level of spunk to you. And it just feels like the level is a little different, which isn't like you. So I just wanted to check and make sure that you're good." Right there in that moment, y'all, inside my head, I was like, "Oh my God, Jamaica, what?" Like, okay, let's process what just happened. So I'm sitting there in my head processing this conversation and why I reacted that way in real time, which is growth for me, something that I've learned over the last couple of years. So I'm quiet and I'm processing. Thankfully, she was there and she was talking to some other people, so she didn't leave immediately. So I waited until she got ready to go out the door. And when she got ready to leave, I stepped outside with her and I said, "Hey, I just want to apologize for being snappy." I was like, "You were genuinely trying to you were genuinely concerned and asking me how I was doing. And I just snapped." And she said, "No." She said, "I didn't take that as you snapping." And I think she could feel like the emotion coming from me. She stood beside me. So our backs are to the building so people can't see our faces. And she didn't make any huge spectacle out of it, which I genuinely appreciated. Y'all, tears flowing down my face. And instead of her, "Oh, come here," she stood by me, shoulder to shoulder. And she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I think I'm just realizing that I'm still in a space where I have to learn that it's okay to not be okay and that it's okay for people to check on me." Now, let me give a little sidebar. One of the things that was going on with me during 2022 and 2023 is I was really sad. I'm not going to go as far to say depressed. I just know there was extreme sadness that I had never experienced before. And the thing that was more kind of heart wrenching to me was I didn't feel like anybody knew. And I wasn't that mad at anybody else for not knowing. I was upset with myself and I was like, "You haven't built any relationships with people to a point where somebody would be able to know that you were sad. where somebody would know something was off and be able to kind of support you in that. And because you haven't done that, you're showing up and people think that you're doing great, but really you're not. And during that time, I really, really wished I'd had someone who could tell that I was struggling and would have offered some type of support some way, but I just hadn't fostered any relationships to that level. So again, I wasn't mad at anyone. Just take that back. I was a little bit mad. Let me tell the truth. Tell the truth, shame the devil. I was a little bit mad at, during part of that. I definitely had a victim mentality. I was mad at people who I loved and who I thought our friendships were deeper than what they were. And I wanted to place the blame on them. But as I grew and really took time to reflect and just sit quietly in my thoughts and talk to God and read the word, I was like, I think it was more about the fact that I just haven't fostered those type of relationships. And eventually that turned into me, instead of being mad, just being like, well, what I realized is that I value friendship and community much more than I think I would have ever admitted a couple of years ago. And so through this experience, what I realized is that I do have a desire to have close friendships and to really be in strong community with others. And that's something that I hope God really, really blesses me with. Now, don't get me wrong. If you listen and you like, now, girl, you know I love you and you know we good. I do have a lot of people who I know, who I love, and who I do believe if I were to reach out, or I know, not just believe, I know if I were to reach out to them and say I was having a hard time or I was struggling, that they would absolutely step in and do whatever they could to support me. But I think sometimes you just want to be able to have that friendship where without you saying something, people know you well enough to just know. You know, like I know my children. I know when something's off. Now I'm not saying I'm not perfect. I might not catch everything, but like I know. You know what I mean? Now I think if I live closer to my parents, where my mama could lay her eyes on me all the time, she really would have known. But we talk on the phone a lot and it's a lot easier to kind of mask things. So I know that she could tell from time to time, like, so she would give me little pep talks and ask me questions. But just as far as like being in community with your peers, I just realized that is something that's important to me. And moving forward, as I build relationships, I'll be very mindful about nourishing those a lot better than I have in the past. But anyway, coming back to that, um, she didn't make a spectacle when I started crying. And she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, I think just in you asking me that, I'm realizing that, help is and support is something that I wanted. You offered it to me. And I didn't even know how to receive that. And I don't want to, I'll be paraphrasing the conversation, but she basically said, just know it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to admit, like, I'm overwhelmed by something. Like, that's okay. And I said, yeah, so I'm crying. When I tell you God sent her to me at the right time because he knew what I needed, I just genuinely appreciate the way she handled it. She said, "Do you want me to hug you?" And I said, "No." And it wasn't that I'm a very affectionate person. It's just I felt like that was really going to send me into the deep end of crying. And so I said, "No." And she said, "Okay." So she stood next to me in proximity, like her shoulder was literally touching mine. And she said, "Do you want me to pray for you?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Do you want me to pray out loud right now?" And I said, "No." I said, "But I do want you to pray for me." But again, I had to go back into work. And I was like, I think if that happens right now, I'm going to be a crying and blubbering mess. So, yes, please do pray, but just not right now. She said, "Okay." So she stood there with me and she said, "I think maybe you just needed that." And I said, "Yeah." And so she said a couple other things. And then she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes." I said, "Thank you." So, and again, I apologize. She said, I did not take it that way. She said, "I just could feel like that wasn't normally how you act. It was just, I could feel the difference. And I just wanted to let you know, like, I'm here for you and just wanted you to know that." And I was so grateful. So I stood there and she just stood there with me until I pulled myself together. So I was crying. Then I wiped my eyes. And then she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "You sure?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Okay, well, listen, go in, have a great day. Call me if you need me, and I'll check on you later." Now I'm gonna tell you why that is so representative, I guess, of the person I become. There was a time, and I've talked about this before, when I was very solution oriented. If something comes up, I just need to know, how do I fix it and move? How do I fix it? And then I move. And I just want to like get it out the way. I didn't do a good job of processing my feelings. And what I now know is that was a way of me protecting myself from hurt from people. I grew up in a very loving family. My parents are super affectionate, always been unbelievably supportive. My brother and I have an amazing sibling relationship. He, to this day, is one of my best friends. Yeah, my best friend. Him, Carlos, my kids, my parents, but we're still unbelievably tight. So I had an amazing home life and family life. I struggled with my peers. That was the big struggle for me. And when I was graduated from high school, and once again, listen, go back if you're new. You can listen to some of the episodes. I talk more in detail about these things, but we had superlatives back in the day, and I was voted by my peers as most conceited, which I allowed to build a very rocky foundation for my life as an adult. So I just knew when I graduated from high school and I went to college, I just didn't want to see anybody that I went to school with. I was 2 fingers up and I'm out. But my goal moving forward was to not be seen. I genuinely couldn't understand why people saw me in that light. That's not the type of person I am, and I think people who know me now as an adult, even in if it's not a deep interaction, but just on a regular interaction, no, that's just not even me. I internalized that as I wasn't good enough as myself among my peers. So I only felt safe dealing with my family. And outside of that, when I go into social situations, I would just go in with the assumption that these people will not like me. I'm not likable as myself. That's how I saw it. So I kept a wall up with people. And so when problems and things would arise, I would decide to, how do I solve this? And I move on. And I wouldn't really allow myself to process feelings. I felt like a punk. Oh, who needs feelings? Not me. And that was just how I was moving. But I think that was just a defense mechanism for staying focused on what's the solution and how do I fix it so that I don't have to process feelings. And the reason those two things connect is my feelings were so hurt. I was like, yo, I don't bother anybody. I don't talk trash about anybody. I mean, like, I go to school, I play sports, I come home. Now, again, my parents were amazing, but they ain't play. You couldn't do nothing foolish, get in trouble at school. What? We are not doing that. Get in an argument at school. What? You fought somebody? No. Drama. My parents did not play. They did not play. So I'm like, what is this? So my feelings were hurt, and I just did not appreciate the sting of that. Then there were a couple things that happened after us just within in college, and just my sole goal in moving the way that I move was to avoid strong feelings. Like whatever I can do to move forward and keep things even keel, that's what I wanted to do. What I've learned over the last 2 years is it's okay for me to lean into my feelings. Uh, Even though I tried to isolate myself in certain things, God never had an intention for me to be isolated or for me not to have close friends, for me not to be in community. He absolutely did. I think I just needed to have time to myself and with him to unlearn a lot of things and to shift the way that I see myself. So, in learning more about God and reading the word and learning more about him, I learned a lot about me, like as a perk. That was never my intention at the time wasn't to learn more about me. But as I learned more about him, I learned more about how I should then be viewing myself. So I'm okay with feeling feelings. I'm okay with leaning in and processing them and even going deeper, like, why do you feel this way? Why are you feeling this? Okay, how do we attack this at the root? How do we move forward? What triggered that reaction from you? And how can you deal with it, learn from it, and then move forward in a positive direction? Yo, your girl is grown. Your girl is grown. I tell you something. I'm not who I used to be. Okay. Okay. I fell down for a minute, but I got back up. And that was another thing that I realized, y'all. So, I'm gonna come right back to that. Let me hold that thought. Jamaica, hold that thought in your head. I'm falling down, getting back up. Okay, it's there. So anyway, in talk having that conversation, I was super grateful. I told Maggie, thank you so much. I appreciated how she handled that situation. The craziness was she said she hadn't even planned on coming to that session because that's the time that she normally doesn't even come. But she ended up coming to that session, and I think God knew I needed her to be there because she was such a blessing. So thank you again for that, Maggie. So there would have been a time where I would not have been able to do that because I have that fear of I had lived so long with the fear of failure. And to me, leaning into my feelings and letting them get the best of me felt like failure to me for so long. But the other thing that I've been able to reflect on over the last couple of years is I have failed a lot, more times than I can count. But what I've realized is I have gotten back up from every single failure. Every single one. And not only have I fallen and gotten back up, I've learned a lesson every single time. And now that I'm just so mindful about life and I'm really intentional about not living mindlessly, I see certain situations and I'm like, mm-mm, you already dealt with this, girl. You already been there. You remember when? Now, let's think about how you handled that. How did that go? What's a better way for you to handle this? Let me tell you something. Your girl has grown. I'm in such a different space mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I just am so grateful for the fact that God let me throw a tantrum for 2 years. I was kicking and screaming. Lord, what is going on? Why? Hello? Are you there? Do you hear me? Do I need to put out, SOS? I'm laying on the floor, forming my body in the shape of letters SOS. Lord, you don't hear me? Do you see me? I'm on the floor. Help me, Lord. And he's like, "Whoo, child, I'm here. I'm gonna stand by her to make sure she's good. But she gonna have to tough this thing out." And I'm so grateful. I had to have that time, y'all. I cannot even believe I'm saying it. I had to have that time. So in 2024, that's when I realized it was time to like pull yourself together. How do we move forward with everything we've learned from everything that has happened? And it's just been a year of me being mindful. That was it. I've been mindful, and a year of me allowing myself to build new routines, leaning into pivoting and not being so bent on things going in a specific way, and just being open to things changing and me rocking with those changes and knowing how to make adjustments. I'm so grateful and I feel so much better. And I will tell you, when I felt like everything got turned upside down for those 2 years, well, 2024 came along and there was even more transition. But I feel like all of the lessons I had learned from all the transition from those 2 years helped me navigate 2024 so much better. So let's go ahead and let's do a quick recap of all the things that happened. I should have written this down. Okay. We're gonna do the best we can. I'm gonna start. Let's go to the top of the year after February. So I might have to come back and catch something, but come uh April, I turned 45. Jordan celebrated her 18th birthday. I have a whole adult out in these streets. Okay. So we had that go on. Then Carlos and I celebrated our. Okay, no, let's back up. So we had birthdays. I turned 45. Jordan turned 18. We have an adult in the house. That was in April. Come May, everybody's making moves. Jordan graduates from high school. The twins graduate from no, from elementary school. And that meant we had a lot of transition come August. But before we get to August, Carlos and I celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary. Yes, our marriage is fully grown. Praise the Lord, saints. We've made it 21 years. And so in June of this year, it'll be 22 years. So we celebrated that. And then in the summer, we did a lot of traveling just with the kids and sports and football, gymnastics. We did a lot of traveling there. And Jordan applied to a bunch of different colleges. She got accepted into every college that she applied to. One of her top ones, Jordan's a nursing major. And when we went to school, they told us that it was going to be really hard to get in. So they initially offered her like a bridge program, and she was like, I don't know how I feel about bridge. So she made a decision on where she was going to school. She is in school. She's doing very well. She was on the dean's list for the first semester. She had a 3.716 GPA. That's my girl. She has a heavy schedule this semester too, but she's doing well. She's adjusted. Then the twins went to middle school. That was adjustment for all of us. They adjusted well, and thank God I had 15 years of middle school experience, which what a great time for this when you have two starting middle school at the same time, no less a boy and a girl. So we have like some different experiences happening, but they both enjoy it. It's just like a lot of teachers and a lot more assignments, and you're switching classes and you have lockers. It's a lot, but we made it through that first quarter. And once we made it through the first quarter, we were good. They've both been doing well. They're on honor roll. Peyton just she applied to be a student ambassador, and she just got inducted into that for her school. Cameron has been doing very well with football. We traveled to Naples over the Christmas holiday because he played in a tournament with Football University. He made the South Carolina team for Football University. So we went down there and played. Retirement, Florida. I'm on my way. You understand me? Winter, I'm doing Florida for winter when I retire. Yes, I am. We had a good time with that. So a lot of things happened, right? And I was able to navigate that so much better because those other years with us selling our house, moving, new jobs, new schools, so much happening, I was caught up in a whirlwind. Because I went through all of that, 2024, I took each transition as it happened, processed feelings, sat down and thought about ways that we can navigate things in a smoother way, or as smooth as possible. And it was good. Jordan going to college, definitely an adjustment. It's very quiet around here. Peyton jokes that Jordan brings the chaos. And Jordan said, "Well, that's just because I'm the fun one." It's been different, but we've adjusted, and it's actually we have a new normal. And again, that was an adjustment because we all just hang out so much, so it definitely felt weird. Then she came home for a long break. She came home for Thanksgiving. She came home the week of Thanksgiving, and then she didn't even have to go back to school. Classes didn't start back till January 13th. So she was back home for a while, which was great. She's gone back to school, and even though it is definitely more quiet around here, it's been great. It's something about that second semester. Something about that. You had to get all the initial adjusting out the way. So going back second semester was a lot better for all of us. She went back, you know, it's different to going in not knowing anyone and then going back knowing that you know people and that you have friends and people that you hang out with and people that you're looking forward to seeing. That makes a difference for her, but it also makes a difference for us because you send your baby out into the world away from you, you want them to be able to find friends and you pray that they adjust and that they're okay being away from home. So we would constantly check in like, you good, you good. So we're happy that she has a friend group and that she's adjusted and that she's doing well. So we're super grateful for that. And I just, for myself personally, while I haven't had anything major go on, I am grateful to be mindful. And that is another part of what I did last year. I was mindful to be present. So everything that was going on with the kids or with Carlos, I was present. And it's good. We made some good memories. We had some good times. I used to kind of go to football games for Carlos' school, sporting events. I'd be like, Friday night, I will be in the house and I will be watching TV and relaxing. But this year, I bought in. I went to every single football game except for one that he told us, like, I don't even know if you're going to want to come to this one. And that ended up being a blowout, meaning we won. We did very good. We got to the semifinals. Look at me talking about we. See, I bought in. I was out there. I braved the cold. Peyton and I learned a lot about all the things that you need to, support a football program during the winter months. Hot hands, special blankets, certain coats, how to layer these clothes. We learned a lot, but we were out there. We had a great time with that. So I've just been present and I've been mindful and have really focused on perspective. So instead of just trying to quote unquote survive each day, I've really been leaning in and enjoying each day and being grateful for the ability to just be present and aware of the good things in life. And I'm really grateful not only for that, but just to also be in this space that I'm in. Is it perfect? No. Am I perfect? Never. But the peace that I have right now is perfect. And I'm really, really, really grateful for that. So y'all, to lean in. The podcast is back. We're gonna come back. I did mention the word consistency earlier. That is the word that I'm focusing on right now. But listen, if I learn nothing else, things change, things evolve, and I'm open to that. I've learned how to pivot. But right now, at this particular moment, consistency is the primary thing that I'm focused on. I want to be consistent in a lot of different areas in my life, and that includes the podcast. So I'm grateful to be again in a space where I'm ready to show up and talk to y'all and share the things that I learned and bring people on as guests. So I'm excited and I'm just gonna again lean in and let things go in the direction that they're supposed to go. And I want to be consistent about doing that too. So yeah, we back. And I'm excited. So if you have turned your notifications off, turn them back on. Turn those notifications back on. The podcast is back. We'll be back on a weekly basis. So Thursday. Thursday should be the day that these come out. So I'm really excited just about being able to, just be free and grow and show up and hopefully help and inspire others along the way. Uh, you know, let's do this. We're looking for our fit and we're gonna find it. So if you've been looking for it, I hope that you find it here. And I'm super grateful. So y'all go ahead, turn those notifications on. If you're new, I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that you want to stay around. So depending on which platform you're on, you either hit follow or you hit like or subscribe, whatever it is. And let's get ready for a great year. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Y'all, let's do this. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Listen, I can't have you all missing out on episodes. I appreciate you all being here and I want you to stay here. So before you leave, go ahead, click that subscribe button so you'll be the first to know when the next episode drops. I'll see y'all then.